Hello and welcome back to my channel, and we rejoin our solo classic traveller campaign. As a quick recap on the characters, we had developed a bit of their backstory and motivation for being on Tarot. We had Saria. We agreed that she'd found this to be her discharge world. Basically, the merchant captain had said adios and shot off in the middle of his economic woes. Bastian, he had taken on the traveller life, and he thought he would find opportunities on Tarot, as did Fiora, who had also had a similar mindset. And Kira was doing a bit of sport tourism and had just ended up on Tarot as one of her final ports of call before she got her nose to the grindstone and looked for a new career. And they had met in the Dragon Hotel, and they realised that they had some shared circumstances, that the fact that they had no immediate prospects, and they decided to form a group as a pragmatic way to pool their resources and find employment. So we had left we had expected to get a bit further on last time. However, we because of time constraints and whatever, we didn't get as far as my mini game, which was the setup in the Dragon Hotel, and this involved this 8-step process whereby the characters would go through a few sequences, and it would ultimately result in a couple of, or maybe more than a couple of, what I call situations, where we have an encounter with an NPC, and we generate the NPC. We use the reaction mechanic to an extent, and we kind of judge what their reaction is, and we could it's basically I kind of like it, as I say, a mini game to recreate social interaction in a maybe a bit more of a light-hearted and more entertaining manner, and also it has a dual purpose, that it gets us used to our characters. We're actually getting our hands dirty. We're actually playing Traveller now, and also we could maybe establish some interesting NPCs as a byproduct. And that's what I found with my AD&D game, that a lot of these things, they do generate some spin-offs, some interesting little tangents that we can go off on, and certainly with my AD&D kind of similar mini game, I had a lot of fun and it was entertaining. And basically that's why I'm doing this channel, to primarily entertain myself, and as a welcome benefit, if you are entertained in the process, that's great. But my primary modus operandi is to do something that I think is fun for me to play. Excuse me. Okay, so I think really to get this cracking, I should just revisit this checklist. So I had mentioned at the start of, or at the end of last episode, that the characters will have their introduction to the Traveller universe by experiencing an evening in the Dragon Hotel. So this involves running through a few generated encounters called I call situations, and playing out the interaction using the reaction mechanic. Now that's basically, I'm just repeated what I've just explained longhand, but that's the whole gist of this exercise. So basically, I want to do is, in the first instance, is to set the scene, describe the lobby and bar area, its quiet elegance and professional demeanour of staff. So I can do that. I think remember cast your minds back a couple of episodes. We actually went through a description of the Dragon Hotel, and um, when I was coming to describe the lobby, if you recall, it had this atmosphere about it where it exuded this quiet quality, um, and you had a feeling of understated luxury. Um, and the color palette was it was muted earth tones with some subtle accents of purple. So it really was very pleasant, a very understated but at the same time elegant surroundings. There was some comfortable, well-spaced seating in the lobby. And remember that there was this emphasis on privacy on tarot, where privacy is quite important. So there's quite a lot of nooks and crannies and little private spaces for people to meet. Um, the artwork on the walls and also as pieces dotted around the lobby were mainly abstract, quite often polished crystal, or pictures of the local flora and fauna, which are in many cases quite beautiful and quite spectacular, and all at the same time. There's this ambient lounge music subtly in the background. So as soon as you come in, you breathe in this fresh and scented atmospheric smell. There's this very calming ambient music playing. It's beautiful surroundings. It's very muted colors. Um, it feels rich, elegant, not extravagant and over the top, but very refined and uh, just exuding comfort and a welcoming, calm place for characters to unwind. So that is the first stage. We've set the scene, and then we have the player characters interact with the concierge, and he's going to go and explain what the hotel's code and charter and answer any questions. So let's crack on and do that. And let's assume that we've got an appointment with the concierge, and we go up to the hotel front desk, and we ask for the concierge. And this tall, elegant individual of around about 40 walks towards us. He says, "Good evening, sirs and madam. Welcome to the Dragon Hotel Tarot. My name is Clement, and I am the concierge. I and my staff are here to assist you and ensure your stay with us is a pleasant one. Follow me, and I will explain the hotel facilities and services in more detail." So what he does is he takes us away from the front desk towards into the lobby. There's a booth that we can actually sit down in. That's quite discreet and away from any conversations. And he gives us basically a brief on the services of the hotel. He talks about the Dragon's Hearth restaurant, where there's fine dining and you get all the local cuisine and all that type of stuff. He talks about the Wyvern's Tail Bar, where there's a lot of recreation and it's a nice place to network and meet people, and there's always some pleasant music on the go. And at the end of all this, where he goes through basically a kind of checklist of what the services are of the hotel, the fact that all the different rooms and all the different type, like almost like the Wi-Fi type stuff that I was on about previously. The fact that we've got security vaults and safes and that type of stuff. He does say at the end, "I always have to do this, but I need to remind you of our code of conduct, and that there is an expectation that the guests will maintain this at all times." And we get a nice warm feel about Clemens. He seems like a very refined and eloquent middle-aged man, tall and quite suave in his demeanor, and we feel quite relaxed and happy to be in his hands. And then he says, just one last thing before you depart and enjoy yourself for this evening. Do you have any questions you would like to ask? So, let's just kind of set this thing up. I've got some little. I've used these for my AD&D characters, and I found them quite useful, and just kind of giving us a bit of visualization. I don't actually have any figures just now. And if we use this as Clement, he's in his Dragon Hotel green. We're sitting around in the booth. Saria is going to be in yellow. I've got Bastion in green. I've got Fiora in red, and we've got Kira in blue. So blue for the Navy, green for the Army, red for rank, and yellow for the merchants. So we're all sitting around nice and cozy in the booth. And he says, just to remind, he says, do you have any questions you would like to ask? And Fiora says, well, that's interesting you say that, Clement. We have formed a little group, and we are keen to know what would be the best way of obtaining employment or a patron on Tarot. And he says, oh, that's an interesting question. I don't get that asked too often. He has a kind of wry smile at that. He said, well, probably top of my list would be you can network in the hotel itself, and the bar, the lobby, and the restaurant are all very well visited by the clientele, and also some of the local patrons like to come here. And then, in addition, you have access to the starport, and there are a number of bars and taverns and clubs that you could go to and socialize in. And there's also the Starport Authority in the starport that you might want to hook up with. They might have some interesting options that you could explore there. And then there is the local urban area itself, and there are businesses, there are potentially sometimes there's events, you could go to tourist sites, there's some of the civil chambers, and I could maybe arrange transport into the urban area outside the starport, and you can start to experience tarot firsthand. And then probably I would not really advise this, but of course there is access to some of the less reputable areas. And again, I am not condoning this form of searching, but that is an avenue that some of my residents have decided to go down. But you would run the risk of maybe having rather unsuitable patrons and missions as a result. And Fiora says, well, thank you very much, Clement. That has been excellent. You really have filled us in there. You are the most excellent concierge. I think we are feeling quite peckish now. I think we will dine in the Dragon's Hearth restaurant. It sounds absolutely amazing. He says, yes, you will enjoy yourself tonight. We've got special on tonight. We've got a local delicacy of a roasted fish from we call them dart fish, and they are a delicacy. They are fresh today, and you'll find them very, very tasty. Excellent, thank you very much. So we all pop off to the Dragon Hearth restaurant. We have a very fine meal. We're really enjoying ourselves, some lovely wine. And then after that, we take up Clement's advice and proceed through to the bar. And we go into the bar area. We approach the bar. There's some very pleasant, soft jazz music being played in the background. You will notice about, unlike any modern place that you go to now, everything is quite restrained and quite quiet. So for ears like myself, who is a bit getting on a bit, it's very pleasant. It's not intrusive. It's almost as if it's specifically designed for an older clientele. Or maybe it just adjusts itself to the local the local client, and it knows exactly how to play. If they were maybe some younger characters, they might have had louder music. It's just a theory. So they proceed to the bar area, approach the bar, and they're greeted by the bartender, who is a tall, athletic-looking, blonde chap, and he says, he says, "Good evening, sirs and madam. Welcome to the Worm's Tail bar. My name is Hanson, and I'm here to serve you this evening. What may I offer you in terms of refreshment?" And he hands us all the drinks menu, and we start pouring through the drinks menu. Probably Kira is specifically eyeing up the stronger stuff. And we say, "Do you recommend any cocktails?" And he says, "Well, Viridian Haze is a very pleasant cocktail. That's one of our locals. The Crystal Maze, which is another local delicacy, and a very new one that's popular with our younger drinkers, the Spectre Surprise. Maybe just one of them, or otherwise you will get a surprise during the night." And also on the beers, we've got Taro Ale. We've got something we call Retro Beer, which is very tasty. Old Glory, another one of our beers, cask beers, and Tradition, which is a very fine ale. And on the spirit side, we really have to import most of our spirits. So from one of our sister planets, we have Regian Brandy. And then, of course, our staple Old Xander whiskey. So Kira says, "Make mine a double," and we all order up our drinks of choice, and we're really having quite a nice time. So we're all jabbering away, talking about our service history. We're sharing stories about our homeworlds, and building up a bit of a rapport with Hanson. Hanson seems like a very decent young chap. And then what we do is we go back to our mechanic. Now, our mechanic says that establish the relationship with a reaction test to determine his helpfulness and willingness to facilitate situations. So if we get a good reaction from Hanson, he might help us out or give us some very interesting information on some of the residents. So we'll be hoping for a reaction. So this is where I can show you my reaction mechanic. Now, when we have a social encounter, we use this table here. Now, when the original traveller rules, we have this reaction table here. And I thought I'm probably going to use that more for outdoor encounters, say in the street or just in general travel roundabout. It's more a case of like if you saw someone in a distance, and it's not really dealing with the social side. So this is more kind of like an initial reaction when you see something or someone. When you're out and about, and this one that I've done here is much more about social encounters. So, basically this is what this repeats it. It says, while the primary table covers general encounters in the street, in passing, and those at a distance or without a prior relationship, the secondary reaction table can be used for interactions in a social setting, ongoing negotiations, and as a mechanism to manage involved encounter outcomes. So, we can use this for the social interaction. And we have, we roll 2d6. We have some modifiers. If we have liaison or streetwise skill, we can have a +1. And that has to be applicable for the social context. And then we have a -1 if social standing is 3 points higher or lower than the NPC, but only if discernible. So that won't be in this case. And then we apply other reaction modifiers based on population and military experience. Now that tends to be, there's quite limited ones in this, where we have modified results. Let me see. DM of +1 if the character has served 5+ terms in the Army, Navy, or Scouts or Marines. So that doesn't apply. And the DM of -1 if the world population is 9 or greater. So we don't have a world population. So none of those modifiers are going to apply. And then apply other reaction modifiers based on, yeah, we've done that. Use the NPC personality to vary plus or minus depending on the type of trait and its level, and then apply any other situational modifiers that seem relevant. Consult the reaction outcomes matrix to help gauge reaction based on the general reaction result. So these are the general reaction results, and then I have a matrix thereafter where I can maybe give some nuance to what those mean in a social context. So probably the best way to illustrate this and how it works is to actually do it. So let's first of all, let's just think what would be some of the modifiers that we could apply, because we have a character, and I'll just see if I've got my little sheet. I've got these little mini IDs for NPCs, which are the key criteria that we need to look at when we are designing for these social interactions. And for Hansen, I've got him as a male, he's 30, he's a bartender, he's from Offworld. I am not maybe going to do a personality or a quirk, because his personality, he's being very civil and he's almost trying to mask it. Likewise for the concierge, Clement, he is, I haven't done a personality or a quirk either, because of their conditioning and their training, they are acting with impeccable customer service and good manners. I would only say in a crisis situation, maybe we would determine their personality, because they're going to be congenial and very conducive to social interaction. So I would say ordinarily we'd always give a +1 on the reaction as a minimum. So we've already got a +1 reaction. Also, is there anything on our characters that could boost it? We've got on our characters, we know that Saria is independent, Bastion is cautious, Fiora is honest and truthful, and she comes across as being very, maybe not direct, but very, she's a straight talker. And Kira is cruel, so we'll keep Kira maybe at the back. She's getting stuck into her doubles, and she's really quite enjoying herself. I think we'll use Fiora as our spokesperson, and she has a manner about her just now because she is an ex-colonel. She is used to talking and interacting with people. So I would say that that's a good positive. So in this situation, I would give that a +1. So we're up to +2 on that. I think just generally in the social context where Hansen is trying to facilitate our experience. He doesn't want to maybe have any bad feeling or anything. We could maybe have another +1, but I think maybe a +2 in total is probably a good modifier to have at this stage. just for the initial. We've been talking to Hanson for quite some time, talking about homeworlds and service history and whatever. So he's either going to be getting quite bored of it, or he's going to be quite friendly with us and think, yes, these are interesting customers that I need to maybe invest a bit of time with. So let's roll on our 2d6 as our first roll. This is our first live roll of actual character play in the game. So Hanson's reaction to us. So we get the standard 7 plus 2 is a 9. So let's see what we get on our table. And 9 is positive. Finds common interest, shows favor. So if we wanted to be a bit more pedantic and drill down on that, positive means could be kind, affable, helpful, conciliatory, interested, offers information, curious, inquisitive, considers offer, or eager. I would say he's going to be helpful, and he might offer information if we need to. So we'll make a little note on Hanson's thing that we have made a positive, and he is going to be helpful to us, and he will offer information if we so wish, and he might even do that voluntarily because we've got such a good reaction. So that is a good start for the characters, a positive reaction. So let's go back to our checklist and see where we need to get to next. I can find what it is. Yeah, here you go. So we proceed. Thereafter, we proceed through the evening with some staggered encounters using the matrix to generate situations, and for each guest resident, introduce a quirk and personality. We also determine the trigger that initiates the encounter. Resolve the interactions and play them through using the secondary reaction test table, which I've just demonstrated, to determine outcomes. So we're going to have our first situation. So to do that, we go through a little mini checklist. We get our sheet out, and what we're going to do is we're going to generate an NPC. Number 1, situation number 1, we'll put here. We are going to have, in the order that is talked about here, it should be, here we go, determine the situation. Establish who the characters meet, their identity, name, sex, age, and experience. If not obvious from the resident's background, they will be off-worlders 1 to 5 or a natives 6. Generate their personality and also a quirk to provide some color. Both aspects can have a level determined to assess how apparent or significant these will prove to be in a social environment. Okay, so that's us. We have to, first of all, have an identity. And this is where I have my little mini table of residence identity, and I have basically 18 options on this table. So we get our red dice, which is going to be a 1 to 3, and our black dice, which is going to be 1 to 6. And we're going to roll for our first residence identity. We get a 33. So a 33 is a politician. Okay, that's an interesting start, isn't it? So, identity, politician. Okay. And we will do sex. 1 to 3, he's male. 4 to 6, female. So he's a male politician. And then we'll do age. And I have a table here for non-player character ages. When meeting an NPC, determine age and experience, roll 2d6. And for characters that are age group 3+, roll 2 dice for experience and take the higher. So we'll roll the age first. We'll get our d6 for that. So he is on that's a 1 we rolled. So he's a very young, a very young politician. He's in his 20s. So we'll put in his 20s. Probably pretty high 20s. Probably say maybe 20s. Could be a rising star in the Senate. And then his experience, again, we'll roll a 1 to 6. He is a 4, so he is average, skill 1, so that's good. He has average experience. So that means he's quite a, for his age, he's an experienced chap. We also roll his, I've got a table for names that I can use here, which is very similar to our character name generator, but I've kind of expanded a bit and taken out our character name so we don't get a duplication. So we'll do the male name first, and we've got the 1 to 6, which is black, and then the columns will be the red dice. So I'll just get that into camera shot so you can see that. That's column 3 and number 4. So he is called Wagner, which is quite a political name, isn't it? That's quite good, Wagner. Wagner the Third or something. Big political family, and his surname is going to be now this is, I've beefed this up a bit, so I'll do 1d2 and a d6 first. So that's 1 and 1, so that's 11. So, and then the column will be 1, we'll use a d6, and this one, Castellon. So Wagner Castellon. Okay. Now, on the background, I would say that he's almost certainly going to be probably a native, because he's a politician. But he could be a visiting imperial, or maybe he's from one of the other planets, and he's a visitor. So I'm tempted to maybe have maybe 1 to 2. He is an off-worlder, and 3 to 6. He is a native. So let's do that. And ordinarily, it's he's only a chance of 6 to be an unworlder, but it's actually 3 to 6 in this case. And he's a native from Tarot. He's a politician, potentially in the Senate, or maybe he could even be a special advisor or something like that. But he's definitely involved in the personalities in the political side. And then we roll the crunch thing, which is always going to be the deal breaker, which is personality, and we get our. We'll use red as our first dice and black as our second. So we have a 45 for personality, and a 45 is practical, focuses on what is useful and avoids complications. So he cuts straight to the chase. He's a practical guy. He's just very straightforward, just likes to get straight to the point. Maybe it doesn't really like dithering around. And we roll at 1 to 6 for strength to see what happens on that. So we've got a 5 for strength on the practical. And then quirks. I've used Mongoose Traveller book, and they have this fantastic little table, which is very similar to all these other ones. It's a 2d6 table called Character Quirks, and you can come up with some quite interesting things. Now, I will use this with a pinch of salt. If I get something that's a bit strange or whatever, it doesn't make sense, I'll probably either ignore it or maybe try to change it. But I thought let's give this a bit of an airing. certainly in this kind of thing where we've got a bit of a mini game going, and just find out whether there's any quirks going on. So we'll get our dice out for this, and we get a 1 and a 5, that's a 15. 15 on this table means will betray characters. Oh dear. So, what does this mean? Oh, will betray characters. Quirk. So maybe if we bring him into our trust, we will be betrayed. So it doesn't mean to say that this is going to happen 100%, but maybe he is not a trustworthy person. He is a politician after all. He's just being your standard politician just now. Okay, so let's have a quick recap of where we are. We've got Wagner Castellon, is male in his 20s, probably late 20s. He is pretty experienced for his age. He's a politician. He's a native. He's probably either in the Senate or he's aspiring to get into it. He's practical, very practical, in fact. And there's a worry that he will betray the characters. Now let's just roll that on a 1 to 6 and see whether this is a strong motivation that is driving him. It is. It's a 5. So he is potentially very untrustworthy, particularly in terms of the characters. Okay, well that's interesting to know. And then the last thing that we do when we have a situation is to generate a trigger. Now I've got this table. So this determine the trigger that initiates the encounter. And I've got a 1 to 12 table. So unfortunately I'm going to have to use a 12-sided dice, but you know, I do apologize for that. But there you go. That's just one of the things we'll have to kind of compromise on. And there's a whole range of things. There's like players overhear a conversation about a topic they are knowledgeable about or interested in and attempt to get involved. They're looking at the same piece of art or decor and start to converse. It's that type of thing. It's just all very based on a kind of a random event, maybe a chance bumping into or something, or maybe something a bit more sinister or orchestrated. This table covers just about every single one of those bases. So let's find out, excuse me, what is the trigger that gets Wagner Castellon involved with our characters. So we'll get our D12 out. Get this 3, so he's number 3. Got this awful frog in my throat now. I don't have my glass of water, so I'm gonna maybe have to jump away and get it. But number 3, ask for directions, information or help with a technical problem. Okay, so he might have bumped into us and he's asking for directions, or maybe he's asking for information or help with a technical problem. So maybe he can't get the, I don't know, maybe his phone to work or something like that, or, you know, there's something bothering him. Let's do a 1 to 2 is directions, 3 to 4 is information, and then it's help with a technical problem as being. We'll have to think what the technical problem is. So it is, he needs help with the technical problem. So let's have a think about what that could be. Or is he pretending that he needs help for a technical problem? Okay, and who does he ask? So let's do our 1 to 4 for our characters. And we've got them in order. We've got Saria, Bastian. We've got Saria, Bastian, Fiora, and Kira. We'll do a 1 to 4 on them. We'll ignore the 5 or the 6 on these ones. Let's just do it here without the dice tray. So it is Saria. He asks Saria, he says, excuse me, young lady, could you help me with my phone? It doesn't seem to be picking up a signal here. I just can't figure this out. And he comes across as being quite, you know, it's strange, you know, 'cause she thinks he's kind of giving off a kind of aura that he's quite a competent looking guy, and whatever, uh, and he says, actually, you know, I really just, as a bit of an excuse, I wanted to you know, can we go over and maybe to have a bit of a chat? I noticed that the four of you were in the restaurant earlier on, and now you've appeared through in the bar. I'm quite interested to come and speak to off-worlders about what their experiences are. You know, I work in the Senate in the Tarot assembly. And I'm just getting a bit of a feel for what off-worlder opinion is of tarot just now, and whether I can pick up any information that's quite useful for me in the process. And you know, we're quite taken aback and flattered by this approach, and we say, of course, yes. Would you like a tarot ale, or you know, what else have we got on the list? I think I've got it. Where's my list of where is the drinks list? Says Kira. She's swilling back another. She hasn't done the Spectre one yet. He says, oh, okay, no, I like Old Glory, actually, so I'll have an Old Glory, thank you very much. So we're all sitting around in the booth, having a bit of a chat, and we'll have black. We'll have a black one for the politician. He's there. Or maybe I should have maybe something a bit lighter. So let's go for orange. We'll have orange as our politician, as Wagner. So we're all chatting away and whatever. We've got to really kind of assess what his reaction is to us as we all start talking, because we're all quite keen to give him a bit of information, a bit of lowdown about what our background is. He seems like quite a fluent and eloquent kind of speaker. He's definitely got a very pragmatic and practical outlook. Again, Sari is a bit scratching her head a wee bit. She thinks that's a bit of a strange excuse. You know, someone that seems to be so kind of, you know, they seem to be quite competent, and he's worrying about how his phone's working. And obviously this was a bit of an excuse just to try and get and talk to us. You know, does he do this every night, I think, and try to get into the confidences of the residents? She's maybe feeling a wee bit suspicious. But let's find out what our social interaction is in this instance. So we'll get our little sheet out again, where we had, trying to remember where our sheet is. Yep, we've got this here, and we've got, I'm saying on practical, is this going to give us any positives or negatives on the role? Well, I would say that if that's probably not really going to do anything. It certainly doesn't jump out to me as being something that we need to maybe consider at this stage. And getting back to my original sheet, we don't have liaison or streetwise skill. The social standing, it's not really discernible yet. We probably can sense that he is of high social status. But then our character, you know, Saria is of quite high social status too. She's a 9, I think. So I don't think that that's going to be a penalty in this instance. Any other reaction modifiers based on we're not got the population. The NPC personality, I don't think practical is really going to do anything in this instance. It maybe means that he's a straight talker, and maybe that helps. Let's think, maybe that helps with understanding the fact that he's practical. He knows how to talk. This is probably his political skill. He knows how to talk to different types of people. He's got a very practical way of communicating. That makes him quite articulate and also well understood. So, and he's also receptive. He listens to what people are saying, and he understands maybe different ways of conversation. So I think that's a positive. I'll give it a +1. His quirks, the fact that he will betray the characters, let's keep it maybe under wraps just now. I think maybe that would be a plus or a minus, just depending on, but probably he wants to gain our trust. So I would say that he's maybe pushing out the stops a wee bit to be positive and become our friend. So I'd say that I've got a +1 or a +2 at least on this. So let's go for let's be generous and just say for our first ever game, we're going to give a +2 to Wagner in his interaction with us. And I'm just seeing the time. We'll probably do this and square up at the end of it and just see where we are. So he has an 8 +2 is 10. So again, positive, finds common interest, shows favour. So in our little matrix of results, that means kind, affable, helpful, conciliatory, interested, offers information, curious, inquisitive, considers offer, and eager. Now, I think probably the most important one would be that he's interested in us, he's curious, and he's inquisitive. He did say as his initial gambit that he was trying to find out, almost like a touch paper of what the other planetary systems thought of what was going on Taro, whether there was any information, and just general Imperium outlook on the system. And its politics, because I suppose when you think of it, the political situation on Taro is quite it's maybe not extreme, but it's strange. The fact that they have this party in power, which is very popular, but it also is quite conservative, and it is basically wanting to keep progress in check, and turn the clock back. Make sure that there's no progress, is rather unusual in the Imperium. So I think maybe he's interested to see what is the spin that is being spun on Taro's perception outside its atmosphere. So I would say he's probably a curious and inquisitive. So I think, just generally, we could say that we're having quite a positive interaction with him. We're sharing some drinks. We're talking about our homeworlds, and whether we'd heard of Taro before, and most of us haven't. Kira is maybe getting a wee bit bit jaded with some of the brandy that she's now imbibing, and is going on about the fact that she's always heard about Taro, and it was a beautiful place to come and visit, but we don't really quite know if that's the oiling from the drink, or is that Kira talking. So maybe Fiora's just trying to keep Kira in check a bit, and Fiora says, yeah, we're really quite interested in Taro, and getting some leads and contacts, and really trying to get invested in what's happening here, with the potential of doing getting some employment, because as you see, all four of us are now we're finished out with our services. We're on to chapters new. So he says, okay, leave that with me. I'll leave you my number. Contact me later on in the week. We will see if we can maybe arrange some form of meeting later on. I would quite like further discussions with you. I've enjoyed this evening. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Give me a call. So he gives us information about his contact number, leave it with us, and we leave with what we perceive to be a positive interaction. So I think we're just going to leave that there just now. We will continue with the next situation, and also reflect on what that particular situation means to the characters at the start of next session. But I think just generally, that hopefully that shows you what I'm trying to do here. Just have these little mini interactions, kind of almost like a role play with myself, which is reasonably difficult to do. But if you feel that you've got some dice rolls and some mechanics and some help with some of the information that's to hand, and you can maybe put them together and make some connections, and just really kind of bounce things off each other. You can come to some form of it's almost like a pseudo conversation that the characters are having with this individual, and come to a point of almost like decision points and outcomes. So we're left with a positive outcome that we have kind of given our trust and our belief in Wagner Castellon, the fact that he is someone to be of obvious power and importance, and he might give us a means of getting some form of employment or patronage. But we are also we're not aware that he has maybe ulterior motives. Does that just mean that he is an untrustworthy character, that he might betray the characters at a later stage? He looks as though he is very, he has a very strong tendency to betrayal. So is he going to stab them in the back later on? Yeah, well, I think that's good. That's our first NPC that we've generated. We've got good old Clement, who is immaculate and very polite, and a great concierge to have as a resource. Hansen, our bartender, we've made a very positive start. He's helpful. He'll offer information. Maybe he knows some information about Wagner that we could ask. That might be actually useful to go to recycle back to Hansen and see what we can find out. Okay, well, I think we're going to leave that there. Exciting things to come. We've got situation 2. We've got maybe a bit more information coming about Wagner. Yes, the night is still young in the Worm's Tale. As long as we can keep Kira definitely not onto the Spectre surprise. Good night Vienna, if she does that. Let's keep her keep her on the lash, and Fiora is used to. In fact, we've got characters that are all used to kind of having discipline, and certainly Fiora is being a colonel is very useful. Used to barking orders to a junior, so she will keep her in check. Okay, well, I quite enjoyed that. I hope you did too. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.